I got everyone's blessing. Your father, your mama, your sisters. They all here. So I just got one question for you, sweet.
In the late hours of January 8th, 2023, a 31-year-old pregnant hairstylist would be found dead in her car at around 6:50 p.m. Lakeville police would respond to a 911 call about a shooting at the Amazon Fulfillment Center located at 9800 217th Street West in Lakeville, Minnesota. When they arrived at the scene, they found the unresponsive body of a pregnant woman slumped behind the wheel of her vehicle. Upon closer inspection, she had suffered from a gunshot wound to her neck, but what was more chilling was her pregnancy could be in danger. As police scrambled for answers, they uncovered a disturbing truth. The hairstylist was shot dead by the same man she got proposed to. But what was more tragic was what happened next. In fact, this story is closely similar to the story I covered last weekend. Do you remember a man who killed a famous hairstylist immediately after he proposed to her? If you've not watched this, I'll leave the link at the end of this video. Now, let's look at the life and death of Kyla O'Neill.
Domestic violence. If you're involved in anyone like this, just get away and stay away.
Well, leave silently. Don't even say your plans. Just find an escape.
We need to start speaking up for each other. If you see something, say something there.
Kyla Bianca O'Neill, affectionately called Princess Dior by her loved ones, was 31 years old and lived in Bloomington, Minnesota, a peaceful city just outside Minneapolis. But there was nothing quiet about Kyla herself. She was light, laughter, and energy all wrapped in one. Friends say she brought life into every room she entered, the kind of person whose presence was immediately felt. Whether she was cracking a joke, lifting someone's spirits, or simply sharing a smile, Kyla had a way of making others feel seen. Just like her mother, Katina O'Neill, Kyla was also a devoted mother, fiercely protective and deeply loving. Her two young children were her world, and she worked hard to build a safe and joyful life for them. Family meant everything to her. She was the kind of woman who did everything for everyone. According to her mother, she was the glue that held the family together. But aside from that, she had a passion. Kyla O'Neill was a woman of many gifts, creative, driven, and full of heart. At a young age, she had a passion for beauty and self-expression. Her love for hair and makeup led her to enroll at Maranello School of Beauty, where she honed her skills in hairstyling and makeup artistry. And Kyla wasn't just talented. She had a true entrepreneurial spirit. She launched her own small business called Chez Dior, Collections and Styles, offering braiding, weaving, and wig installations. She was also in the process of opening a fashion and accessories boutique, blending her creativity with ambition to build something of her own. Friends remember Kyla as someone who always had a vision and the hustle to match it. Even while running her business and nurturing her dreams, she worked as a certified nursing assistant, balancing long shifts with school and motherhood. Her dedication was unmatched. She often styled her friends' hair, sharing not just her skills but her warmth. Kyla was the type of person who showed up for others, even when life was heavy for her. She loved deeply, laughed often, and lived with bold intention. Her journey was one of passion, perseverance, and purpose. That was until her path crossed with someone else. In 2015, Kyla started dating 32-year-old Dante Raphael McRae. Dante was working as a safety manager at the Amazon Fulfillment Center in St. Louis Park. At first, Dante came across as someone calm, stable, and secure, qualities Kyla admired. As a single mother at the time, she entered the relationship with hope, believing she had finally found a man who loved her and just maybe they could build a future together. In the early days, their relationship looked promising. One of the things Kyla appreciated most was how Dante embraced her two children as his own. He gradually became part of their everyday life, attending family events, showing up for milestones, and helping to build what seemed like a strong foundation. To outsiders, They looked like a couple trying to make things work. Their bond deepened even more in 2021 when they welcomed a daughter together, bringing the total to 3 children under one roof. With a blended family and a shared home, their relationship appeared to be growing stronger. But behind closed doors, it wasn't as perfect as it seemed. Arguments between the couple grew more frequent, and while disagreements are common in relationships, some of their fights turned physical. Still, Kyla stayed because when it came to love, she believed in second chances. Maybe Dante would change. That's why, even after some rocky moments, she gave him another shot. She believed he could be more, and for a moment, it seemed like she was right. Eventually, Dante proposed publicly in front of friends and family, making a grand gesture that seemed to seal their commitment.
I got everyone's blessing. Your father, your mama, your sisters. They all here. So I just got one question for you, sweet.
Moment was filled with applause and smiles. Kyla said yes, believing she was stepping into the future she had always dreamed of. A loving partner, a united family, and a new chapter built on growth and forgiveness. But what looked like a happy ending was, in truth, the beginning of a much darker chapter. By mid-2022, Kyla and Dante's relationship appeared to be heading in a positive direction. They were expecting another child, a baby boy they planned to name Messiah Edward O'Neill. For Kyla, this pregnancy was not just another chapter, it was a symbol of hope. She proudly flaunted her baby bump. She was filled with excitement and dreams of expanding their family. Her joy was visible, especially because she believed she was building a future with the man she intended to grow old with. But behind Kyla's back, Dante was keeping a devastating secret. While Kyla was preparing for their son's arrival, he was involved in a serious affair with another woman, one that resulted in the other woman also becoming pregnant. It was the kind of betrayal that shakes the very foundation of trust. On January 8, 2023, that secret came crashing down. Kyla discovered not only the affair, but the other woman's pregnancy. Devastated, she confronted Dante. The argument that followed was explosive, so much so that Kyla's mother, Katina, had to step in to break it up. What frightened her most wasn't just the betrayal, but the violent threats Dante hurled in the heat of the moment. "You ain't all bulletproof," he shouted. "I'm gonna F you all up. You ain't bulletproof." According to Katina, those weren't just words. They were warning signs. Dante had always been emotionally unstable, and friends close to the couple described him as controlling. His behavior had grown more volatile in the weeks leading up to this confrontation, especially as the relationship began to unravel. That night, Kyla made a final decision. She ended the relationship for good. She told Dante to leave and made it clear their unborn son would not carry his last name. Dante packed his things and left for his mother's house. Needing to catch some air and clear her mind, Kyla grabbed her keys to leave the house. Her mother offered to go with her, but Kyla gently declined. Only Kyla knew what was about to happen, because in the hours that followed, Dante would set in motion a tragedy that no one saw coming. Despite everything that had unfolded, the betrayal, the argument, and the threats, Kyla still loved Dante and her heart hadn't fully let go. As furious and hurt as she was, part of her still wanted peace, especially for the sake of their children. So when Dante had called, saying he needed a ride to work, she did not hesitate. Kyla agreed. What she didn't know was how dangerous that gesture would become. At around 6 p.m., instead of driving around to clear her head, Kyla headed to Dante's mother's house to pick him up. According to her family, she had even offered to return some of his belongings, including a firearm. It was a decision that showed how deeply she still cared and how committed she was to trying to be mature, to keep the situation from escalating, and to maintain peace. But what Kyla didn't know was that Dante wasn't finished. The rage and possessiveness he had shown earlier hadn't passed. It was only after Kyla pulled into the Amazon parking lot that the horrifying truth emerged. At around 6:30 p.m., Kyla and Dante had driven up to the Amazon Fulfillment Center located at 9800 217th Street West in Lakeville, Minnesota. But what should have been a simple drop-off quickly turned into something far more tragic. As Dante stepped out of the car, he reached into his bag and grabbed the firearm Kyla had brought to him. Whatever words were exchanged between them at that moment, no one knew. But witnesses would later say they saw the couple in the car, talking at first calmly. But soon their conversation turned into another heated argument, and what followed was unmistakably devastating. Sensing danger, Kyla had tried to escape. She shifted the car into gear, attempting to drive away. Dante ran alongside the moving vehicle. Kyla briefly reversed before maneuvering into a nearby parking spot. During that motion, the car door struck Dante, pushing him backward, and that single moment of impact would trigger a deadly reaction. It was in that instant when the door made contact that something in Dante snapped. Without hesitation, he raised the gun and fired a single shot into the car. The bullet struck Kyla in the neck as she sat in the driver's seat. She began bleeding out immediately. Nearby, Amazon employees, startled by the gunshot, rushed out and witnessed the aftermath and immediately called 911. When Lakeville police and paramedics arrived minutes later, they found Kyla slumped behind the wheel. She was still alive, but barely. The bullet wound to her neck was deep, and she was rushed to Hennepin County Medical Center. Dante remained at the scene, visibly shaken but cooperative. He told officers the shooting was unintentional, that he didn't mean to fire. He was arrested and taken into custody, but what investigators discovered next would change everything. At HCMC, trauma doctors and neonatal specialists worked urgently. Kyla had lost a significant amount of blood and her vital signs were fading, but there was still one hope for her son. Through an emergency cesarean section, they delivered baby Messiah Edward O'Neill, born 9 weeks premature. Weighing just over 3 pounds, his lungs were underdeveloped and his heartbeat was dangerously faint. He was immediately placed in an incubator and transferred to the NICU.
Oh, I'm holding on to faith. I'm praying. God got the last word, and so hopefully he give him to me.
Where a team of doctors monitored his oxygen levels, heart function, and brain activity around the clock. Family members gathered at the hospital, torn between grief and prayer, hoping for a miracle. But Kyla never woke up. The trauma to her body was too severe. Despite all efforts, she was pronounced dead later that night. The truth, however, was even more horrifying than anyone imagined. Once Kyla O'Neill was pronounced dead and her newborn son placed on life support, the focus shifted to building a case against Dante. According to his later statement, Dante had asked her to hand over his gun, claiming he needed to clear it, meaning unload the weapon. But then the gun fired. The bullet struck Kyla directly in the neck. She tried to drive away, losing control of the car and crashing into a pole. Dante chased her down, pulled out the same weapon, and shot again. It was only after examining the footage that the horrifying truth emerged. In that footage, detectives saw Dante get out of the car after the initial gunshot. Kyla, wounded, tried to drive away and crashed into a post. Dante then walked toward the vehicle and opened fire again. The video clearly showed intent, not panic, not remorse, but follow-through. Detectives also learned that Dante was not legally allowed to possess a firearm. He had recently completed a firearms safety course, but was still ineligible to carry due to prior legal issues. That detail would come back to haunt him in court. His claim that the gun discharged accidentally during unloading was dismissed when police confirmed that Dante had previously told Kyla's family he knew how to safely handle firearms.
The 10 at 10, a pregnant mother gunned down in a Lakeville parking lot. Her baby survived. A suspect is in custody. Good evening. I'm Amy Hawker.
And I'm Kelsey Carlson. Family telling us that 31-year-old Kyla O'Neill was nearly full term when she was killed on Sunday. Fox 9's Rose Schmidt is in our newsroom with more on what the investigation holds tonight.
Well, Kelsey, Kyla O'Neal's family says the newborn is a fighter. They say what makes this that much harder is she was so excited to bring her baby boy into this world. The bassinet, car seat, and diaper bag were all packed and ready to go. 31-year-old Kyla O'Neal's family says she was set to be induced on Wednesday of this week, bringing her fourth child into this world. But instead, in this crowded parking lot, she was fatally shot Sunday evening.
We responded to the Amazon Fulfillment Center, which is located in southern Lakeville, where we found the victim inside of a car.
Lakeville police say someone who works at this Amazon warehouse called 911, and they responded to the scene. Commander Bill Girl says at that point, his officers' training kicked in.
Obviously, if they knew she was pregnant, they're going to do everything they can do in their power to save her life, knowing that it's going to affect the life of the unborn baby at that point.
O'Neal was then rushed to HCMC, but she didn't make it, and the hospital delivered the baby. Her family says she was a CNA who cared deeply about her children and described her as family-oriented, outspoken, and a woman who set her mind to something and achieved it.
Back at the crime scene, Dante was already taken in by the police department to question him and tell his version of what had happened leading up to the crime. But as the interrogation started, Dante would tell the police something different.
Police say there was a man in the car at the time of the shooting.
He has been cooperating with our investigation. He currently is in Dakota County Jail and is being booked on second-degree manslaughter charges at this time.
A spokesperson for Amazon says the suspect is employed by the company and Amazon is working with the police. As for what his relationship is to the victim, Lakeville PD isn't saying, but Fox 9 has obtained documents showing that the suspect and O'Neal had at least one child together. The suspect is expected to be charged tomorrow. When I asked police if they anticipate any additional charges, they said that depends on the baby's condition. Meanwhile, O'Neal's family says they're planning a balloon release and vigil tomorrow.
But just when it seemed like the case was straightforward, a heartbreaking twist made it even worse. On January 17, 2023, after 9 heartbreaking days in the neonatal intensive care unit, baby Messiah Edward O'Neal passed away. His tiny body had been through too much, his lungs were underdeveloped, and the emotional and physical toll of losing his mother at birth had weighed heavily on him. The charges against Dante were immediately elevated. Dante was initially charged with second-degree manslaughter, but after Messiah's death, the charges were updated to include 2 counts of second-degree murder, one for Kyla and one for baby Messiah. He was held at Dakota County Jail. Prosecutors argued that his actions were intentional, that he knew exactly what he was doing when he pointed the gun. Dante's defense team leaned heavily on the claim that the shooting was not premeditated. They described it as a heat-of-the-moment mistake, made worse by a volatile breakup and emotional instability. But even his own statements contradicted that. In the statements collected in police interviews, Dante admitted to being furious that Kyla had ended their engagement and had moved his things out. The court heard testimony from Kyla's family. Her mother spoke through tears, describing the trauma of watching her daughter's life support shut off, to have to relive it again with baby Messiah. But then, a single clue brought the case into sharp focus. Dante had fired the gun after Kyla was already injured. The second shot was the one that proved intent. That single act destroyed any chance of a lesser charge. Rather than go to trial, Dante McCrae accepted a plea deal. In October 2023, McCrae pleaded guilty to 2 counts of second-degree unintentional murder. This meant he admitted responsibility, but avoided a full trial and the possibility of even higher sentencing. On January 30th, 2024, Dante McCrae was sentenced to 47 years in prison, with 2 consecutive 235-month terms for the killings of Kyla and Messiah. He showed little emotion during sentencing, even as Kyla's family sat just feet away. Meanwhile, outside the courtroom, a family tried to make sense of a future without the woman who held them together. The loss of Kyla shattered her family. Her mother described her as the sunshine of the family, and now she was gone. Her community rallied. Friends and fellow stylists shared tributes online, posting pictures of her work, videos of her laughing with clients, and memories from her time mentoring younger women. Following the devastating loss, A GoFundMe campaign was created by her family to help cover funeral expenses and to support her surviving children during this unimaginable time. The fundraiser became a space for both financial support and community grief, with hundreds expressing their condolences, sharing memories of Kyla, and standing in solidarity with her loved ones. On January 28, 2023, a joint funeral service was held for Kyla O'Neill and her son Messiah. The ceremony brought out dozens of family members, friends, hairstyling clients, fellow mothers, and complete strangers. Many of them wore white and lavender, colors Kyla loved. Some carried purple roses, one for Kyla, one for the baby who didn't get to grow up. The family continues to advocate for domestic violence prevention. They now work with local women's organizations to share Kyla's story, hoping to protect others from similar endings. What do you think about this? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.